Heroes and Vampires. Episode 3. The Night That Found Them. The fog swallowed everything. 1 second the yard was full of bodies, neighbors, voices, confusion. And the next, it was nothing but shadows and screams. "Go!" someone yelled. That was all it took. People scattered in every direction, vanishing into the thick gray like ghosts fleeing judgment. Tamberla clutched Drew's arm so tight, her nails bit through his sleeve. "Drew!" "I got you," he snapped, already moving. A scream tore through the fog behind them, high, wet, wrong. It cut off so suddenly, it felt like the air itself had been strangled. Drew didn't look back. He dragged Tamberla up the steps, shoved the door open, and yanked her inside. Slam! The deadbolt clicked. Then the chain. Then the knob. Lock. Silence. Number. Not silence. The sound came next. A screech. Long, splitting, inhuman, ripped through the walls like metal dragged across bone. It wasn't outside. It was everywhere. Tamberla pressed into him, trembling. What is that?" Drew didn't answer. He grabbed the flashlight off the counter, shoved another into her hands. "Windows, now!" They moved fast. Front window. Locked. Curtains drawn. Kitchen latched. Drew slammed it shut harder just to be sure. Bedroom. Tamberla fumbled with the lock, hands shaking so badly she missed it twice before it clicked. Another scream. Closer. A crash somewhere outside. Glass shattering. A gunshot. Tamberla gasped and dropped her flashlight. It clattered across the floor, beams spinning wildly across the walls like a panicked eye. Drew killed it. Darkness swallowed the room. "Flashlights off," he whispered. "Now." They stood there, breathing hard, listening. Something moved outside. Not footsteps. Too uneven. A scrape. Then a thud. Then sniffing. Slow, deliberate, right outside the door. Tamberla buried her face in his chest to keep from crying out. Drew's hand found his gun. Safety off, finger resting. The knob didn't turn, but something dragged across it. A nail? A claw? Drew's jaw tightened. Not here. Not like this. His eyes flicked upward. The attic. "Come on," he breathed. He grabbed her hand and moved. Fast, but careful. Every step felt too loud. Every board beneath them threatened to scream their position. They reached the hallway. The pull-down ladder. Drew yanked it open. The hinges groaned like they were betraying him. They froze. The sniffing stopped. Silence. Then, a low, guttural clicking sound answered from the other side of the house. Drew didn't wait. "Go," he whispered harshly. Tamberla climbed, fast as she could. Drew followed, one hand on the ladder, the other still gripping his gun. Halfway up, crash. Glass exploded downstairs. Tamberla gasped, scrambling faster. Drew shoved her up into the attic and climbed after her in one motion, slamming the hatch shut just as... Thud. Something landed inside the house. Heavy. Too heavy. Drew pulled the ladder up, sealing them in darkness. They didn't breathe. Below them. Movement. Fast. Erratic. Furniture scraping across the floor. Another window shattered. The house was no longer theirs. Tamberla clung to him, shaking violently now, silent tears soaking into his shirt. Drew wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close, his other hand locked around the gun so tight his knuckles ached. "It's okay," he whispered, though nothing about this was okay. "Stay quiet. Just stay quiet." A sound rose from below. Not a voice. Not human. A wet, chittering screech, followed by rapid footsteps. No, not footsteps. Too many points of contact, like something crawling. On walls, across the ceiling, above them. Drew's eyes shot upward instinctively, even though he knew it was impossible. The attic creaked. Something slammed into a wall below, hard enough to shake dust loose from the beams. Tamberla flinched. Drew tightened his grip, pressing her head into his shoulder to muffle any sound. The intruders moved fast. Reckless. Drawers ripped open. Objects shattered. Wood splintered. A chair flew, crashed into something with a crack. Then, silence. A long, suffocating stretch of nothing. Drew held his breath. Tamberla's fingers dug into him. Then, a slow scrape. Right beneath them, sniffing again, right under the attic door. Drew raised the gun, aiming at the wood like he could see through it. The sniffing grew louder, curious, hungry. A long pause. Then, a sudden, violent slam against the wall. The creature bolted. The house erupted again, movement tearing through rooms, another window shattering, more destruction, more chaos. And then, nothing. Minutes passed, or hours. Drew couldn't tell. Eventually, the sounds faded, then stopped, completely. But he didn't move, didn't dare. Tamberla's quiet sobs slowed into shaky breaths. "They're gone," she whispered. Drew shook his head slightly. "We don't know that." They stayed, curled in darkness, listening to a house that no longer felt like shelter. Time dragged. Finally, in a whisper barely louder than breath, Tamberla spoke. "What do we do?" Drew stared into the dark, thinking, calculating. Every option felt like a gamble with death. "We wait," he said finally, "until daylight." She nodded against him. Neither of them slept. Gray light eventually seeped through the tiny attic vents. Morning, or something like it. Drew moved first. Slow, careful. He eased toward the hatch, every motion deliberate. He listened. Nothing. No movement. No breathing. No sound. He slowly pushed the attic door open. It creaked, too loud in the silence. He froze, waited. Nothing answered. Drew lowered himself just enough to peek. The hallway below was still, empty, but wrong. He climbed down, gun raised, every muscle tight. Each step felt like stepping into a trap. The house, it was destroyed. Glass littered the floor like frozen rain, furniture overturned, walls gouged. And there, blood, dark, smeared, dragged. Drew moved forward slowly, eyes scanning. Then he saw them. Footprints, 2 distinct sets, but not human. Too long, too narrow. The toes, if they were toes, ended in sharp points that dug into the floor. They didn't just lead across the ground, they went up, across the walls. Bloody handprints followed, elongated fingers, clawed tips. Gripping the vertical surfaces like gravity meant nothing. Drew swallowed. They were climbing, claw marks carved deep into the drywall, parallel grooves like something had tested its strength or its patience. His grip tightened on the gun. What the hell were those things? He checked every room, closets, corners, behind doors, outside. The yard was worse, doors hanging open across neighboring houses. Windows shattered, blood scattered in random violent bursts across lawns and pavement. But no bodies, no people, just absence. Drew returned inside. He looked up toward the attic. "They're gone," he called softly. A pause. Then the hatch cracked open. Tamberla's face appeared, pale, streaked with dried tears. Are you sure? Drew hesitated, then nodded. She climbed down slowly. The moment her feet hit the floor, she saw it. The destruction. The blood. The prints climbing the walls. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God! Drew stayed close, guiding her gently toward the door. Don't look too long, he said quietly. They stepped onto the porch. The neighborhood was gone. Not physically, but whatever made it alive. People, movement, normalcy. It had been ripped out. Doors hung open. Windows gaped like broken eyes. Blood marked the streets in scattered, violent trails. But there was no one. No voices. No sirens, just wind. Tamberla wrapped her arms around herself. What happened here? Drew stared out across the devastation, jaw set, eyes hardening as reality settled in. This wasn't a night. It wasn't an accident. It was the beginning of something. Something hunting. Something that didn't belong. He exhaled slowly, then said it, flat. Certain. We can't stay here.